folks, welcome back to another episode of Throat Punch Lunch, the show that is nicer than it sounds. I like that little catchphrase. I came up with it on my own, I think. Or maybe I just heard somebody say it. Well, I don't know. I can't remember. But I've got a great episode. It's a shorter episodes this time. I had a lot of people that called in sick, basically. A lot of people where a couple of them are teachers, and the school year is just kicking right now with all of the end of the year stuff that's happening. So I am missing a good number of contributors, but the ones that I do have, I think, are pretty neat and pretty interesting. They always come up with really great stuff to go over. So I am looking forward to this episode, but I'm really looking forward to next week. Bring on UKGE. Been looking forward to this ever since last year. Looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys, meeting you again, maybe for the first time, whatever it might be. I'm just looking forward to being on the other side of the pond next week. I'm also excited because this is Z's first time, and he's going to see just how cool of a country the UK is. So, without further ado though, let's go ahead and get to my contributors. They've lined up some good stuff for you. Let's hit it.
Hi, this is Ambie from Board Game Blitz, and this is Strategically Thematic, a segment where I talk about theme in different strategic games. This time, I'm talking about The Grizzled. The Grizzled is a cooperative card game where you're trying to survive the horrors of trench warfare in World War I. In the game, each player is a soldier, but instead of focusing on the fighting of warfare, you're focusing on the fears and trials being felt by the group as you try to survive different missions. The goal of the game is to reach peace, a lone card that is buried under a stack of trial cards. Each card represents a different trial, and players take turns playing them to the table. When there are too many of the same trial out on the board, you fail the mission, and the cards go back onto the stack, making it even harder to make it through the war. Some of the trial cards are hard knock cards, which represent different traumas, fears, and character faults that the soldiers are going through. The cards change the mechanics of the game to fit that specific trauma. For example, a prideful soldier won't allow himself to withdraw from the mission when his friends are still fighting. The only way to survive a mission is for everyone to withdraw from the mission before it fails. And when you withdraw, you can offer up support to one of your friends through these support tiles. If someone gets the most support, they can remove the hard knock cards since their friends have helped encourage them through the tough times. Another mechanic that adds hope to the game is speech tokens. Giving a speech gives players the chance to discard a card from their hand, bolstering spirits and bringing everyone closer to peace. The rulebook has a letter of intent that it states, "Without ever touching on the warlike aspect, the Grizzled offers each player the chance to feel some of the difficulties suffered by the soldiers in the trenches. Thus, the emotions around the table will often be intense. The path to victory may seem difficult, but don't get discouraged. Persist and survive the Great War." The Grizzled has succeeded in this intent. All of the mechanics work together to make players really want to help each other through tough times. If one player is suffering, everyone else will band together to help support that person. You don't want to bring your friends down by playing cards that could hurt the mission, and sometimes you even make it harder on yourself in order to make sure your friends can make it through. The Grizzled does a great job of handling this heavy theme and making you feel some of the difficulties of war. Thanks for watching Strategically Thematic. Let me know what you think in the comments.
This is Roy Cannaday from Epic Game Night, and this is Roll with the Punches, where we talk about randomness in games and how it can make a game exciting. We also talk about how to twist luck into your favor. This week we're going to be talking about a super old game that has definitely stood the test of time and has a lot of exciting randomness in it, and that is Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter is a game that is definitely slap full of randomness. At the beginning of the game, you're gonna get a alien race that has all sorts of different crazy powers that affect the game in different ways. If you have a lot of the expansions, there is hundreds of options of the power that your race is going to have, and they'll all like trigger in different phases and do all sorts of different things, whether it allows you to be more defensive or offensive or just crazy wacky things on some of these powers that can just manipulate the way the game works. And it's a ton of fun as you play the game and get a completely different random alien each time to try to figure out how to best utilize your alien race in negotiations. The main idea of the game is you're trying to take over 5 different colonies, and you do that by launching encounters with different players. You don't really know who exactly you're going to be facing off. So say you're the green player, you have to reveal the top card of the deck here, the encounter deck, and see who that you're going to encounter with. So the green player is forced to have an encounter with white. Now, they basically are going to launch their ships out to go out to attack, or maybe they can negotiate, depending on the cards they have. So that's another thing that's random about the game, is you don't know exactly who you're going to be facing off against. And then there's alliances that are shifting, and you have to negotiate whether people are going to help you with the offense, or someone's going to help with the defense. If they go with the offense, they can help get a colony on a planet with you, or if they help with the defense, they might be able to get some extra cards, which is really cool. Another thing is these decks of cards are slap full of all sorts of different values of numbers, and then all sorts of different artifacts that have all sorts of crazy abilities. And as you trigger these different things, they're going to help you out a lot. Sometimes you'll have a negotiate in your hand, sometimes you won't, sometimes it's just random. And the ways to really mitigate the randomness in this game is just trying to negotiate your ways out of problems. Like if you don't have good cards, maybe you try to ally with someone to help you out. And also making sure to save your cards for the right moment. Like never use your 40 attack on a defense. Just let them have the planet and then use it when you're going out to try to actually win the game. The player that gets to 5 colonies first is the winner, but multiple people can get to 5 colonies at the same time, so you can totally have allied victory, or you can try to backstab somebody and sneak in for the win. So Cosmic Encounter has lots of exciting randomness. It's the best negotiation game in my opinion. Super great. So that has been Cosmic. I love the randomness in Cosmic Encounter. I love getting a completely random alien power at the beginning of the game, never quite knowing what you're going to get, and then trying to figure out how to use what you have to negotiate with your opponents to be able to get the settlements that you need to win the game. It's an awesome game that has tons of craziness in it, as far as like you never quite know who you're going to attack. Maybe you allied with someone to help attack over here, but then when it comes back around to your time, you're like, okay, we can ally again to attack somebody else, but you draw them and you don't have any negotiates, so you end up having to attack them. There's all sorts of random cards you get in your hand, and it's like, okay, I have this card, I can play it, maybe they're going to counter it. There's lots of cool things, and there's interesting ways to try to mitigate that by like holding on to the right cards or negotiating your way out of the bad hand you've been dealt. Sometimes when you're behind in this game, you have a little bit more leverage to mess with the other players, but if you're ahead, then everybody else is going to try to stop you from winning the game. Cosmic Encounter is a game that's older than I am, but is still a great and amazing game. So that's been Roll with the Punches, and we'll see you next time on Throat Punch Lunch.
Hey folks, welcome back to another Accessorize segment here on Throat Punch Lunch. Today I'm going to show you something about this with a little help from Broken Token. So today on Accessorize, I'm going to show you how you can turn this to this. So as we get started, the first things that you need to do is, first of all, make sure that you have some type of protective surface on the table that you're working on, just to make sure that you're not going to mess up that surface at all. Of course, you're going to need your kit that you're going to work with, a rag to wipe off extra excess glue from the different edges, and then of course I like to use Elmer's Carpenter's wood glue for these kinds of projects. They bond really well to the wood and everything like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Now this next part is probably the most difficult part of the entire build because yes, all of this stuff right here is going to make 2 trays that hold all of the ships for Cosmic Encounter. So yeah, rather than have you sit through what I'm foreseeing to be one of the most frustrating builds of my entire life, let's just see if I can make some magic happen, and ta-da! And I was correct. This is one of the more frustrating projects I've ever done. These 2 little things right here. So basically I was able to go from this inside my Cosmic Encounter box to this. Everything is completely stored away in every nook and cranny of the box. Let me show you how it works. So as you open the box, of course, this is the broken token thing, and all of these templates can pretty much just sit on top, as well as the rules and all that good stuff. But here you have all of the cards that are in that tray. You have all of the races that are right here. These little trays right here. And then you also have these guys right here, which hold all of the different ships. And then you have these trays which hold all of the smaller tokens, like so, and like so, and like so. And then you also have the planet tiles right here. So everything fits inside this box. So that is the Cosmic Encounter box organizer from Broken Token. I really think that it's a cool box insert storage solution for Cosmic Encounter. Yeah, they're a little pricey, but you know, if it's a game that you play a lot and it's got a lot of pieces in it, it actually will save you some time and heartache, maybe headaches, during and after the game for setup and then for teardown. So I really do think that this is something that is a great little product to have on the market. Whether you go out and get it though, that's up to you. Let's get back to the rest of your Throw Punch Lunch.
Welcome to Kickstarter Thrash-Up. Today we got a couple projects that we're going to talk about. The first one is a relisting. It's Ravage Dungeon of Plunder. This was a game where it's orc on orc, and I found this very, very interesting, and for some reason he brought it down. He wanted to make some adjustments. He added a solo mode, a co-op mode, and a treachery mode. I don't know, orcs versus orcs in a dungeon, that's pretty cool by me. The artwork's gorgeous. Check it out. The next thing I want to talk about is something that is really, really kind of cool. It's Rise of the Necromancer. It's by a game called Sore Loser Games. I mean, how can you go wrong with that kind of name, right? This is where you take your Necromancer and on the actual... this is a game where you take your Necromancer and through the land you're trying to become the one truly dominant Necromancer. It looks cool, has some nice artwork, some nice figures with it too. You only get one because you're only one Necromancer, but it really looks really interesting. The one that I'm really excited beyond words is Flick Wars. It looks really cool. The reason it looks so good, it reminds me of Disc Duelers, but it plays on terrain, and you actually have to measure, you know, it plays like a miniature game, but it's all flicking and dexterity. I really like the look of it. It comes with a map where you put things underneath it, so it creates hills and valleys and stuff, and you know, being able to shoot at the other opponent really looks kind of neat, and I like what's going on with it. I really hope this funds, because I would love to get my hands on this. That's it for this week's Kickstarter Thrash-Up. Until next time, I'm Rob Oren. Have a great day.
Hey everyone, it's Jay, and it's time to talk about your flair. On 15 Pieces of Flair, I'm going to show you guys some ways to spruce up that game room. You know what I love in games? Variable player powers. I love it when I can do something that my opponents cannot. And I always like all the different ones, but I always have one favorite. And in a game like Scythe, when you have your one favorite faction, you just want the world to know. So, let's make some shelf flair, letting the world know we love the Crimeans. Let's check it out. For this piece of flair, we'll need a piece of wood about 6 inches by 6 inches, a jigsaw with wood blade, a 1x2 for back support, a hammer and small nails, spray paint for background color, a vinyl decal cut on our Cricut vinyl cutter. We'll also need some string, a Sharpie, Glad press and seal, a miter saw, and some sandpaper. First, I cut the vinyl decal on my Cricut. Next, after finding center on the wood, I used a nail, string, and Sharpie to draw a circle onto the wood. Then I put on my safety glasses and cut the circle out with the jigsaw. Then I cut the 1x2 using a miter saw. One side was cut to 45 degrees in one direction, and the other side was cut to 30 degrees in the other direction. It should look about like this. Then, using the hammer and nails, I attached the cut 1x2 to the back of the circle. Then I use sandpaper to smooth out the edges. I then wipe it all down with a damp rag. Next, I spray the entire thing in the background color. This color is Italian olive. Once dry, you use the press and seal and transfer the vinyl cutout onto it. Finally, you align the decal onto the wood circle and transfer it from the press and seal onto the wood. Boom! There you have it. A quick and easy way to add some flair to your game room. Everybody, if you want a chance to win a piece of flair for your favorite game, head on over to my Facebook page, 15 Pieces of Flair with J Peak, and you'll see details on how to enter and win when you get there. Also, if you guys have any suggestions on games or ideas you'd like me to make into some flair, just leave them in the comments below or leave me a message on Twitter at @halfhandicapped. But better yet, go to my Facebook page, leave me a message there. Don't forget guys, 15 Pieces of Flair is the bare minimum. Some people choose to do more, and we encourage that. Have fun, everybody.
Ahoy there, Throat Punchies! I'm Forrest from Bower's Game Corner. I'm back again for 3 reasons where I do something vaguely related to the number 3. Over the last month, we have been going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, trying to find the worst hobby game of all time, at least ranked on Board Game Geek. We've gone over the mass market IP games, we've gone over trivia games, we've gone over games like Tic-Tac-Toe and Uno, but today I have the top 3, bottom 3 worst games of all time on Board Game Geek that are ranked at number 1. Oh, it elicits quite a mystery. You're going to want to stay put for that. So, starting at number 3, we have Burn in Hell, sitting at number 13,659 from Steve Jackson Games. Steve Jackson, also designed by Steve Jackson Games. This is why Steve Jackson Games has a bad reputation, because I noticed he has quite a few games down there. But it's about acquiring evil souls to have the worst group of evil dead people in hell. Yeah. Helen of Troy wrote, "What a strange game. I keep reading the instructions and can't find out where the game begins. Or is the game really just about sorting cards over and over again?" William T. Hazia wrote, "More fun to be had reading the cards than playing the game." And then Earl of Dukes wrote, "Wasn't fun, interesting, or clever. I wanted the game to be over almost as soon as it started." Moving on to the second worst game of all time, and one I actually can't agree with wholeheartedly because I reviewed it. Sitting at number 13,661 is the Oregon Trail card game, a Target exclusive, so you know it's got to be good. Casual John wrote, "Rules for the game lead to broken gameplay." Czech Fan wrote, "Dying of dysentery is preferable to playing this game." And then me, well, I said this in my review. It's completely random, it's completely luck-based, it's insanely difficult, and you have no control over anything you're doing in this. Yeah, I might have got a little angry there at the game, but man, come on, Target, get some better games in stock. But let's get to the number 1 worst game of all time as ranked on Board Game Geek, and this one really is quite the mystery. Sitting at number 13,666 out of only 13,742, so it is in the bottom 100 period, is Nero, a strategy game from a designer named Alexander Zberg. Well, Kronos 1 wrote, has it been tested at least once? I wonder. This game looks absolutely gorgeous, by the way. I checked out the board and the artwork. It looks really, really nice. Lemon Curry wrote, the rules don't work. I love that. I want to use that in a review. Hey, your rules don't work. They just don't work. Simply a waste of time. But the really interesting comment that I read, and it actually sent me spiraling down a little rabbit hole, is from Steve Carey, who wrote, what an incredible embarrassment to the publisher, Mayfair Games, not Mayday Games, Mayfair Games, you stinky minx, but not the designer, RHB, and he writes that, who shows no remorse and has plenty of other dogs in his kennel. So I'm assuming that meant that this designer had tons of garbage games that he had released. But then I saw that the designer was a guy named Alexander Zberg, who's only released 3 games. 2 of them are absolutely god-awful, and they're actually in the bottom 100 period of all the games on Board Game Geek. So congratulations to Alexander Zberg for having 2 of the top 100 worst games of all time with like LCR and Tic-Tac-Toe. But that's when I found out the mystery that Alexander Zberg actually might be a pseudonym, an alias, a fake name for a very famous designer named Richard Berg, RHB. And so I started to look at his page to see, does he have a bunch of stickers? Because he's got all these awards and whatnot. And oh my gosh, Richard! You stop it, Richard! You need to chill out with that. He has 13 games in the bottom 10,000 games. To put that into context, there are only 3,742 games that are in that bottom 10,000, and he has 13 of them. He has 1/3 of 1% of all the games ever designed and ranked on Board Game Geek. He has, wow, Richard Berg. But I want to figure out if it actually is a pseudonym. I want to figure out this mystery. But let me know in the comments below. Do you want me to keep digging down into this rabbit hole and bring you a little bit more context on this situation in the next episode, or go back to something business as usual? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, back to more throat punching goodness.
Welcome to Throw Punch Lunch. My name is Bobby, and this is We'll Learn As We Go, where I'm going to be talking to you about a game and how I would teach that particular game. This week, that game happens to be Dead of Winter. A couple of quick tips before getting down to the table. Crossroads cards are a really cool system in the game, and they bring out the real thematic narrative. However, I have seen people dwell too long on the Crossroads cards when teaching the game, so my advice is, don't dwell too long on it. When you teach the Crossroads cards, teach the mechanic, remind players that they have to do it every turn, and then move on. In fact, the game has a theme and mechanics that mesh so well together that sometimes I've experienced when people teach this game, they end up kind of delving too far into the narrative of the theme and kind of forget to teach the mechanisms. So this game, focus on the mechanics when you're teaching the game, because when you do that, and as players play the game, they'll be able to understand the whole narrative that is the Dead of Winter experience. You're going to want to set up the board, and one of the first things that you're going to want to do as you set up is choose the main objective. After you do that, you can pass around the player reference board to the players. However, there are a couple of concepts that they're going to want to learn before they even refer to players to the player board. One of the first things that you want to cover after you talk about the main objective are the survivor cards themselves. Talk about what the players should look for, including their attack number, the search number, and go ahead and pass the survivors out and let the players start choosing what survivor they want. Continue to set up the board, including setting up things like morale and round. Now that you've explained the attack and the search actions, you can also briefly explain the player dice and how they work. While you're talking about dice, you can also talk about the exposure die, including the blank side of the die, the wound side of the die, the frostbitten side of the die, as well as the bite side of the die. You can talk about how a bite works and how it spreads. Pass out the starter items. You can cover a few of the different types of items that the players will have, as well as the different elements of a crisis card. While you're talking about cards, you can also and finally talk about secret objective cards, talk about the normal secret objective cards, as well as the secret objective cards for the traders. Refer the players to the colony phase of the player reference board. You're going to want to cover these things first, because to understand the consequences and motivations of the actions that they take in the player's turn phase, they need to know what happens in the colony phase. First, you're going to want to cover paying for food from the food supply, as well as adding starvation tokens if there isn't enough food in there. You're also going to want to cover checking the waste pile, and you could cover that this is the discard pile from their items that they used. You could talk about resolving the crisis. You've already kind of shown them the crisis card before, and you could talk about what happens when you get a card you need, or what happens when you get a card that doesn't match the crisis card. And of course, before you talk about checking main objectives and moving the round tracker and passing the first player token here, you're going to want to add zombies. And so you could cover how that works among the different entrances. And you're also going to want to cover what the noise tokens mean, as well as what the barricade tokens mean. Also, you could cover what happens when an entrance is overrun by zombies. Keeping in mind the tip that I mentioned earlier, go ahead and at this point cover the crossroads cards, as well as the crossroads cards with the voting. At this point you could cover how to vote in the game, and so you could go ahead and cover the player turns by covering all the different actions that a player can take on their turn. Talk first about the player actions that require a dice, including attacking. You've already talked about attack when you talked about the survivors specifically, but go ahead and talk about how they can also attack their fellow survivors, as well as take this opportunity to talk about what to do with dead survivors and how to add other survivors when those cards come up. You're going to also want to talk about the search action. At this point you've already talked about the search action quite a bit, but just re-emphasize what the noise tokens mean. You're going to talk about the barricade action, as well as cover that you can do those actions no matter what result of the die. Talk about the cleaning waste action, as well as attracting zombies. Of course, some actions require no dice, including playing an item card, so go ahead and cover what each item card does, as well as how to equip certain items to survivors. With the item cards in your hand, you can also talk about how to add a card to the crisis. You can talk about moving a survivor from location to location, as well as spending food tokens. They can talk about requesting and handing off item cards, and they can also talk about voting to exile. You've already talked about the voting procedures when you talked about the crossroads cards. So that's how I would teach Dead of Winter. Thank you for watching Throat Punch Lunch. My name is Bobby. This is We'll Learn As We Go. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
So there you have it, episode 23 of Throat Punch Lunch. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I certainly do appreciate it. I hope that you guys are enjoying the episodes as much as we are putting it together. Next time around, I think we'll have most of our contributors back in session. I'm going to have something that me and some of the UK contributors are going to be recording for Throat Punch Lunch while we're there next week. So be looking forward to that as well. And as always, and I know I say this a lot, maybe I sound like a broken record, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. We'll see you guys on the flip side.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Wait.